Hello everyone, it's the NFL Exporter, aka Expert Reporter Ty Goodman with the Underworld Sports Show, and we're doing the first quarter recap, the first 4 games of the 2013 NFL season. We're getting over now to the NFC North. Leading off the division is the Detroit Lions at 3-1. The Lions have looked very formidable this year. The defense is playing a lot better, and the addition of Reggie Bush has definitely been key. Coverages obviously are paying attention to Megatron, Calvin Johnson, who last year wrote his name in the record books with the most receiving yards in the season. So he's obviously, with his production over the last couple years, as he's emerged as the best wide receiver in NFL, it really opens it up. The Lions have done a great job. Matthew Stafford has definitely cut down turnovers. He's always been a talented quarterback who, can definitely toss the pill. Just unfortunately turnovers when the offensive line breaks down, especially, was really killing Detroit last year. But he's done a good job protecting the ball. He's still confident in his throws. I like to see that. I don't see reluctancy. He still threads the needles and makes a tough throw. He's using his tight ends. This young guy Fourier, rookie, is doing an outstanding job. He's a tall target. Calvin Johnson, unfortunately, suffered injuries to Nate Burleson, so they're kind of thin at wide receiver. But again, the addition of Reggie Bush has really opened things up for this offense. Reggie's been a great versatile back. He's been able to run between the tackles, pop it outside in the passing game. Screens from the wide receiver position, screens from the running back position. He's really showing his versatility. This was a great pickup, one of the best free agent pickups so far. Really has this offense looking dynamic and a lot of different things they can do. So I like what I see from the Lions on offense. Calvin Johnson's off to a bit of a slow start, but again, the guy gets double and triple coverage, so it's only so much you can expect. His numbers will add up over the course of the year. On defense, and Ndamukong Suh is looking back in form. Him and Nick Fairley are finally forming into what the Lions had hoped for, making things really difficult for teams to run against, creating a lot of pressure up front. And the secondary looks a lot better when Louis Delmas is healthy. He's a great tackler. He also covers a lot of field. He's just a great leader, and with him on the field, it helps make up for some of the lack of talent that the Lions have in the secondary, even though the cornerbacks are very feisty. I must admit that. Next at 3-1 are the Chicago Bears. The Bears have looked good this year. The defense continues to thrive, scoring touchdowns, wreaking havoc, racking up a whole lot of turnovers. And kind of a similar situation with Matt Stafford. Jay Cutler he's a good quarterback. Turnovers, again, are things that limit him, especially when they come at the wrong time. But he's been a lot more balanced this year, taking care of the ball. Matt Forte is getting a lot more touches, which is a good thing. Mark Trestman's a good play caller. He understands the value of a versatile running back, and so that's kind of balanced the offense out. Brandon Marshall continues to be one of the best wide receivers in the league, and the additions of Martellus Bennett at tight end. He's been a great find. Him and Jay Cutler have definitely been hooking up, and also second-year guy Alshon Jeffrey, who battled through injuries last year. He's emerging. He actually had a game where he had over 200 receiving yards, so that's really loosening things up on the other side, since teams want to roll the coverage over to Brandon Marshall. So it'll be interesting to see. I like what I see right now between Detroit and Chicago. Next in line are the Green Bay Packers at 2-2. The Packers lost a tough game at Cincinnati. They were actually winning, and when they went for it, they actually fumbled the ball, and Cincinnati ended up scoring and holding on to win that game. So they could be 3-1. It's been some struggles for Green Bay right now. Offensive line is still trying to find itself. Aaron Rodgers, he continues to be one of the best. They have a good receiving core with Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, James Jones, Jermichael Finley. Happy to have that unit back healthy. They're definitely one of the top 5 receiving cores in the league, but really teams are getting after Rodgers, and they're still trying to get that running game established. So I'm quite sure they'll fare well with Aaron Rodgers as long as they can stay healthy. That'll be the main thing for them, and they've got to shore up the pass protection on that offensive line and get that running game going. It looks like Eddie Lacy's going to be the guy, but injuries kind of held him up early. So once he gets healthy, if he can, continue to do what we've pretty much seen, which is get positive yardage, it'll be a good look for the Packers and help them balance out Green Bay's attack. On the defensive side of the ball, Green Bay still has its playmakers, guys up front, B.J. Raji, Clay Matthews Jr., Tramon Williams, Burnett, in the secondary, Nick Perry. These guys are doing a good job. They're playing solid. They don't give up a ton of big plays. They play tough, but they are vulnerable at times. And so I expect Green Bay to be right there in the hunt with Detroit and Chicago coming down the stretch. Last but not least are the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings right now are 1-3, really struggling. Christian Ponder has not made the necessary progressions to really take the heat off Adrian Peterson. Peterson continues to be a beast. He's still averaging over 100 yards a game, getting his touchdown. He's doing everything he needs to do, but it's really this young quarterback Ponder and his passing game is kind of making Minnesota one-dimensional, and we have to face it. It's a passing league. Peterson can only do so much himself on the ground. At some point, you have to push defenses back from bringing 8 and 9 men in the box. They're going to continue to do that and dare Ponder to beat them until he shows that he can, and right now he hasn't. He also suffered an injury. Matt Castle came in. He did well in the game against Pittsburgh. We know their defense isn't particularly playing well right now, but Minnesota has got to get it together in the passing game. Teams are stacking up on Adrian Peterson, and they're unable to move the ball otherwise. The defense is still good. Guys like Jared Allen, Kevin Williams, Chad Greenway, he's always been a stellar outside linebacker. These guys are doing a great job, but the secondary is still a little bit shaky for Minnesota. And again, between the quarterback play and the shaky secondary, those are not areas that you want to have weak links in the passing league. All right, that'll wrap up the NFC North. Once again, it's the NFL Exporter, aka Expert Reporter Ty Goodman, the Underworld Sports Show. We'll be right back.